We're about 3 weeks away from, we're about a month away, from FEMA's final decision to keep or take away the 25% discount on flood insurance if you live in Cape Coral, unincorporated Lee County, Bonita Springs, Estero Village, and Fort Myers Beach.
And Senator Rick Scott teamed up with Congressman Byron Donalds on legislation to hopefully provide tax relief for flood insurance policies.
And Senator Rick Scott joins us live this morning. Senator, thank you for joining us. So break this down for us. How does this bill make your flood insurance tax deductible?
Right. Well, first off, let's think about national flood insurance. Florida has been a donor state, a 2-to-1 donor state. So step one, just think about that. Insurance is a pass-through. So first off, our rates in Florida should not go up. Maybe they could argue rates should go up one place, but then they should go down someplace else because we shouldn't be constantly be a donor state. And there's other states in the country that are always taking money out of the system. So that, first off, that's unfair. So the first thing I did while I was governor, and I've continued to try, is build a private insurance market, because if there was a robust private insurance market, then that should be cheaper than the National Flood Insurance Program. That's number one, but FEMA's made that difficult. Number two is, what can we do to make it easier for our consumers? Number one, I have a bill that would say that you could pay on a monthly basis. The rates have gotten expensively high. You have to pay once a year. So that would make it easier. Next, give taxpayers a tax break for their flood insurance program. It's gotten expensive. Let's get, I always want to do everything I can to reduce taxes. I did that 100 times when I was governor. The other thing is what's happening with Lee County is I'm trying to work through the Lee County officials. We have a weekly call. I have a constant communication with FEMA to try to make sure they don't raise the flood insurance rates for Lee County. So we're trying to, I've got all these irons in the fire, trying to make all of them work.
Okay, so real quick, Senator, on that note, since you're having those weekly calls with FEMA, do you have a sense that they are going to allow us to keep that 25% discount?
Well, I'm hopeful. My goal is to make sure it's clear. Either Lee County, met the terms, or they didn't. What I don't like about government is when, well, I don't know, we don't know the rules. And so what I've been trying to work with FEMA and the counties and the cities is to say, okay, so what are the rules? How do we comply? And I believe if that's true, then I believe that, I think we have every reason to believe that the rates won't go up, because when I talk to Lee County officials, they're comfortable they've complied. When I talk to, all the cities in Lee County, they've comfortable they complied. So if that's all true, then we shouldn't see the rates go up.
And Senator, back to your bill that I believe you presented to the Senate, how specifically would someone apply for this tax relief, and does it apply to those who are under a FEMA plan or a private market flood insurance plan?
If anybody pays for flood insurance, so whatever you pay for flood insurance, it would apply to everybody. But I think it's the way I look at it is we've got to do all these things. The biggest thing long term is to have. If we're going to be a donor state, then let's get an option. So the biggest opportunity we're going to have is to make sure we have private flood insurance, because then you don't have to worry about some arbitrary rule your federal government comes up with.
And beyond the tax relief, how are you going to make sure thousands more people are not forced to leave homes because they simply just can't afford to insure their house?
Well, the biggest thing is the property insurance rates that's controlled by the state, but the national flood insurance is controlled by the federal government. It's trying to make sure it's as fair a system as possible. Insurance is a pass through. So whatever the costs are, so what you have to do constantly with insurance is make sure there's no fraud, because you pay for the fraud. And so trying to make sure the flood insurance program is transparent, is robust, to give people good information, so we keep the rates as low as we can.
All right, Senator Rick Scott joining us live this morning. Thank you. And just to cap it all up here, Senator Rick Scott, Byron Donalds are introducing legislation that would give you a tax reduction, basically, on what you're paying for your flood insurance.
Every little bit helps.
Does.